Pastor Russ here with hope for today. As we near Thanksgiving, I wanted to share with you a Thanksgiving story. It's a story that I was not very familiar with. It's the story of a Native American who was instrumental in the survival of the early colonists who came to the Americas. His name was Squanto. As a teenager, his village was located on the Atlantic coastline in a natural harbor. One day, as a teenager, as he was fishing, he noticed a large ship that he had never seen such a ship before, with large white sails. As a group of sailors got in a longboat and rowed to shore, he went to greet them. Little did he know that it was a slave trading ship. He was taken as a slave and transported back to England. He was taken to the home of a man by the name of Sir Ferdinando Gorges, a wealthy gentleman who financed expeditions to the New World. He remained there for 3 years where he was taught English, and then he was sent back to the Americas to serve as a guide. His knowledge of rivers, natural harbors, and the tribes, Native American tribes in that area was incredibly helpful to the new expeditions. Years passed, and he longed to go to see his home. The ship that he was sailing on was traveling up along the Atlantic seacoast when he actually saw his village. He asked the commander of the ship to go ashore to see his family. He was actually granted his freedom, and he had a joyous reunion, as you can imagine, with his family. However, that freedom didn't last long. Just a few weeks passed, and again he noticed another English ship in the harbor. With his knowledge of England, he went out to greet them again. Once again, he, along with many others, were taken as slaves. This time they were transported to a Spanish port where he was sold again, but he was purchased by some monks. These monks would regularly raise money to buy as many slaves as they could and set them free. And although they granted Squanto his freedom, he stayed with these monks. That is where he learned and was taught Christianity. Eventually, he made his way back to the Americas, where again he served as a guide. He also, once again, wanted to return to his village. And when he did, unfortunately, he discovered just a month prior, the entire village had been wiped out by a disease that had been brought over by the European settlers. About 6 months after that, on a December morning, he saw some new ships arrive. These settlers appeared to be different. The men were dressed with broad black hats and wore black capes, large black capes that shielded them from the cold. The women wore white caps and long dresses. These were the pilgrims who came over and settled at Plymouth. At first, he did not introduce himself to the pilgrims, but he secretly watched them for some time. And finally, he introduced himself. He eventually came to live with those pilgrims in their settlement, and he was an incredible help to them. He taught the settlers how to fish. He taught them how to track animals and how to hunt. He taught the children how to pick berries and which berries were safe to pick and eat during the summer months. And he taught them how to plant corn. Perhaps his greatest skill was his bargaining skills that allowed him to keep tribes, Native American tribes, away from attacking the colony. In the fall, the pilgrims decided to hold a celebration, a feast to celebrate God's merciful help to them. Squanto was asked to go to a nearby tribe, invite the chief and many of the braves to come and celebrate this feast with them, which we now refer to as the very first Thanksgiving. 2 years after that, Squanto was struck with a fever while scouting east of Plymouth. As he lay on his deathbed, the pilgrim leader, William Bradford, came to his bedside. Squanto simply asked him, "Pray for me, Governor, that I might go to God in heaven." Squanto died in November of 1622. As you celebrate this Thanksgiving, I want you to not only think about and be sure to thank God for the incredible blessings that you and I enjoy each and every day, but take time to remember those who paved the way 300 years ago for us to enjoy what we have today. Also, I would also encourage you to think just for a moment, is by any chance there a Squanto in your life today? Someone that you may perceive initially as an enemy, but God has strategically put in your life to actually be a blessing to you. I would encourage you, if there is a Squanto in your life, make sure you thank God for them as well.